Okay, so my name is Aubrey Page. I'm the CEO of the Change Starts Here Collaborative, and we work with parents and professionals who are supporting children with neurodiversity, trying to work together to get more resources for them. We have a weekly support group, all that kind of stuff. But our focus is neurodiversity, and a lot of people don't use that term. Like when I launched, I used that term, and people were really confused. So I really love that so much of your merchandise says that, because we got to get the term out there. So, so can you tell us more about you and what you do?
Sure. My name is Sally Wilbanks, and I'm Australian. I have a business that is a clothing brand that celebrates neurodiversity. It shines a light on neurodiversity, autism, ADHD, dyslexia, dyspraxia, the whole gamut. I have two neurodivergent children. So they are both autistic and ADHD, and my son has anxiety. It's severe anxiety, and my daughter is dyspraxic as well. So I wanted to start this brand we homeschool them. So I wanted to kind of teach them how to run a business as part of their education.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, and because we can't do traditional schoolwork at all. They're not cut out for it. And I wanted it to be inclusive of them. I wanted them to be involved in some way. So I had the idea and we ran with it, and we've been going for about 15 months now, and it's doing really well.
Oh, wow. Yeah, you feel very established, so that's good.
I know, it's been a wild ride. It's just taken off.
So we haven't talked very much before this. Yeah. I actually homeschool my neurodivergent children also.
Did not know that. Okay.
So I started out as a specialist in fetal alcohol spectrum disorder, which is incredibly common in the U.S. I actually should have looked up Australian statistics, but in the U.S. it affects 5% of the population,
wow,
which makes it 2.5 times as common as autism. And I think numbers are very similar, if not higher, in Australia based on some advocacy work I've seen come out of there. So they're in the Neurodiversity Network, and very similar symptomology overlap between ADHD and autism. Yeah. So, okay, so your post recently about anxiety and neurodiversity got me thinking. You were saying on your statistics that 9% of the population, which I don't know if that's a world statistic or an Australian statistic.
Yeah, I think it's a world statistic.
Okay, so in America, I looked it up right before I hopped on, we're at 18%. Go us.
Okay.
Yes.
Is that because of 2020?
I'm sure that's older than that. Yeah. It's like when you look up alcohol use in the United States, the numbers don't look that bad, and then you look at the studies in the last year, and it's really bad. So because when I saw 9%, I was like, wow, that's a lot lower than I was picturing. So I have anxiety, and so I appreciate how it makes your brain and your body and everything just so confused. But I am not neurodivergent, and so I don't have that piece. But I can see how if you were, and the whole world is set up expecting that you're going to fulfill neurotypical expectations, that your brain's going to do things certain ways, that it's going to accept sensory input certain ways, that you would struggle with some of that. Like the world is not set up for you. I saw a video of an autistic woman. She was actually an autistic researcher researching autism, which is cool.
Okay, yeah.
Talking about how she doesn't have a disability, she is disabled by her environment. Example, when she goes to the mall, there's no issue with her going to the mall if there wasn't fluorescent lights and things yelling out at you everywhere and so many people, right? It's the environment.
I've just now, while I was waiting for you, made a post about this very thing that's coming out on Monday.
Oh,
pretty much just yeah,
right there across the ocean.
Yeah.
So I wondered if you would elaborate on that topic, because I think that we want to create more awareness for us as parents who are parenting kids with neurodiversity. Yeah. What does it look like for us to support them if they're showing symptoms of anxiety in addition to their neurodiversity diagnosis?
Yeah. It's a tough one. According to our therapist, and all the research, autism and anxiety go hand in hand a lot of the time. My son has severe anxiety. It's really debilitating for him. That's his biggest issue with his autism. Mm-hmm. Basically, from my understanding, is from the moment they wake up, they've got noises in their environment that they can't filter out. They've got sights and sounds and smell in their environment that they can't filter out. So from the moment they wake up, they're already in an anxious state. Mm-hmm. So you've got to give autistic people and children as much control over their environment as possible.
Yeah.
because autism is only, it affects people within their environment, as you just said. So it's a bit harder for children and for people that live with other people. So if an autistic person's living alone, they have complete control over their environment, and they don't have that anxiety at home, you know, unless they've got to make a phone call or interact because they're working from home, something like that. But their home is their peace, their solace.
Right.
But as soon as they step out into that world, they're bombarded with sensations and noises and sounds and smells and people, and it's chaotic. That you don't know what other people are going to do. People are unpredictable, so you can never guess. You don't know what you're walking into the second you walk out that door and have to interact with people, and that influx is just causes so much anxiety and trauma. And there are things that we can do to help them. As far as children go, if you've got children that are anxious or have chronic anxiety, just give them control over their environment, let them make their decisions, at least give them a space in their bedroom where they have, even if they share a bedroom, they've got a tent or something that they can crawl into and find that relief. Give them, if there's sound machine to block out other sounds, or noise cancelling headphones. My son has a bracelet that he can smell. It's got like lava beads in it that's dipped in essential oil. So if a smell comes his way, he can smell that. Just provide them with fidget toys and comfort items that help them. And that extends through to adults as well. I mean, autistic adults, when they're anxious, to soothe themselves, stimming is the first thing that comes to mind. So let them stim. Make it, destigmatize it. Let it be normal. Stimming can be just a physical thing with their body. It can be sound, but they can also just carry items, and don't make people feel bad for the spinners that they have, or the fidget toys that they're using. Just overlook it. It's not important. As long as they're calm, it's the way they're calming their bodies.
You're making me think of, we as adults often we accommodate our own needs. So, for example, not a morning person. Don't wake up first thing in the morning, right? And when I do it slow, please don't come in and ask me to do something really quickly. Which is ironic because I'm in the military, so it's not my favorite part of it. I can't handle a lot of crowds. Like that's not my jam. These are things that I have control over avoiding in my own life to manage my own anxiety. But I'm a full-blown adult. So you being aware and partnering with your kid on how you can help themselves manage their anxiety can be a really great way to empower them, because that gives them voice also in other environments, right? So if they feel empowered with us, ideally they feel empowered in other places.
That's exactly what I'm teaching my children right now, to stand up for themselves, to let people know when they feel uncomfortable. My daughter has anxiety at her swimming lesson last week because the instructor was touching her body in ways she didn't like holding her feet to do breaststroke and things like that. And I just said to her, you actually have to start speaking up and letting people know, because neurotypical people don't expect that that's going to cause anxiety or cause a problem. But there are kind ways to do it. You don't have to make it uncomfortable. You can just say, look, I've got sensory issues. I don't like it when you touch my body. And that's something that they have to learn from a young age, because as an adult, if they're not standing up for themselves, if they're not telling people their needs, no one is going to know what their needs are. No one is learning from these people that, we need to listen to their voices. We need to listen to what they require to make them succeed and have a happy life. Because it's entirely possible for them to be productive and successful and, have happiness in their lives, but the world has to start accommodating them. And there are ways to do it.
Right. It's on us. That's actually why my business is called the Change Starts Here Collaborative, because it's on us to change and not on our kids. Because we kind of get told that narrative in traditional parenting models. I'll speak for America. It's like, you do what I say, you don't ask questions. You turn off the monitor. And so that is just what you do as a child. And then we learn. Now we're trying to learn this kind of cooperative approach. And sometimes we feel like maybe we're babying them or something. But if in the long run we have well-adjusted, healthy kids who are able to stand up for themselves and able to manage their own, because I don't know if I had great coping strategies as a young adult either, right?
Same.
So ideally, we're helping create them as that adult.
Yeah.
But it does take a lot of foresight on our part, which is what you're saying, like look ahead, see how you can kind of make them part of the solution.
I think a lot of it is, as I said, just listening to them and hearing them, because if they become accustomed to being heard by their parents, by their immediate family, they're going to expect that when they go out, and then they're going to start to demand it.
Yes.
So I think we really need to treat them not as equals, because we are their parents. We need to give the boundaries and the structure because they need it. They're lost without it. But we really, really need to listen. So if they're struggling, if they're having a meltdown, if they're crying over something, there is a reason behind it. And we need to sit and actually open our ears and hear what they're saying and help them find a solution. Not give them a solution, but help them find a solution. So there's different ways you can help a person with anxiety. You can give them constructive support and you can give them emotional support. And each situation might need a different, support mode, or they might need both. But, some people don't like concrete instructions. They don't want to be told. But other people, like my son, if I give him an instruction and he's beside himself, then we can sit down and break it down in points.
Yes.
And step in and say, look, let's figure out how to do this. And we write it down so he can see it and give him a list. And then he's like, oh, okay, I get it. I understand. Anxiety gone.
That is such a big, it's really big in the States to diagnose kids with oppositional defiance disorder.
Right.
And I see that a lot with kids who are incapable of doing the task that's asked of them. And notice I said incapable, not unwilling. Those are two different things, right? ODD insinuates that you are unwilling to do a task. But what I'm saying is that there are people who, because what you're describing with steps, that's an executive functioning skill, right?
Yeah.
So if you don't have the executive functioning skill to do that, then we have to come up with accommodations in place. If you ask somebody to do a skill that they can't do, or from a sensory perspective is too overwhelming over and over again, they're going to say no to everything. Of course, that makes sense. So, yeah.
I know, I do believe that a lot of, maybe not all, but oppositional defiant disorder, so much of that comes down to executive functioning. They're not capable of doing it, and they have no way of expressing that.
Yes, and so often when we have defined the solution for ODD is creating more compliance, and that then doesn't allow us to get to the place where we're saying, okay, what can we do to work together to help you feel more successful?
Yes. It doesn't get to the core of the issue at all.
Yeah. Yes. I was so excited about this interview because I know that we're very much aligned on so many things, and I love what you're doing with partnering with the community. Obviously, autism advocacy has a jaded past, and we're trying to shift that narrative and make sure that we're uplifting and reinforcing things that autistic adults are asking us to say. So I love that your kids are a part of the business too. We also in homeschool tried to start a business, and then we didn't get anywhere. But maybe one day we too will have an illustrious business like you. But I would love for you to share with my audience everything that you have going on and what you would like people to follow you for and just check out. Yeah.
Okay, so we have the t-shirts, we have sweatshirts, hoodies, hats, and they celebrate neurodiversity, as I said. A lot of the designs are just blanket statements, autist, really graphic, bold. A lot of them are really pretty designs, floral things for, more.
Oh, they are cute, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And we tried to accommodate everyone. We tried to put something in there for everyone, for every style. And we're doing it because we want people to just be proud. We want people to walk out of the house saying, this is me, accept me, ask me questions. We want to start conversations. I specifically chose a brand like this because I want to instill that pride in my kids, and I want the world by the time they're adults to be different for them. I want them to walk into the world and to be accepted and respected because they're brilliant. Autistic people, ADHDers, people with different wiring, different brain wiring, different thoughts, feelings, actions, responses to the world. It's exciting. It's what we need. We need these changes that they're going to bring to the world. So you can find us on Instagram at Indie Renegade, and our store is at just indierenegade.com. And I also do, some advocacy there. I'm on some podcasts, and we're just trying to spread the word as far and wide as we can.
I like what you said about that. It makes me think of something. I do trainings and a lot on neurodiversity and FASD in specific. We go over a slide on grief, and I always emphasize we're not grieving who our kids are. but we can grieve that the world does not look like they are going to struggle because of how the world is structured. And that's part of why I do all of this advocacy stuff, because I want to see a different future for our kids.
Yeah.
What you're doing is going to help pave that road for them. So I'm very excited to see what comes.
I hope so. I hope so.
I know. That's like our biggest
Scotty.
hopes as moms.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's my dog. She's a good dog in the background.
You have exceeded your 15-minute commitment, so you have to go. Well, thank you so much for joining us. This was really helpful, and I'm hoping it's a good conversation for others to refer back to, maybe get some parents to think about different ways that they can help engage their kids and support them with their anxiety and neurodiversity.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Thank
you so much. Bye.
Alrighty. Bye.